Map Veto. Where will we play? G2 are going to have the fortune of banning first. Millennium will ban second. And you can see Border and Consulate not able to be played by default.
Yep, we'll see where we end up. It looks like Coastline and Villa. I'm going to go with Coastline being a little more likely for Europe, but
Villa's a little bit of the off map, so I would agree.
I mean, G2 had a really good Villa showing, though, obviously, as well after their almost bait loss to it in Paris, but nonetheless, not going to go to it. Coastline won that these two have had some good fights on in the past between these two teams specifically.
Coastline is a great map, I think, for this match to take place, and it will come a lot down to which team has managed to learn from the last times they have faced each other here.
It'll be interesting to see how the operator bans come down from this as well, because as you mentioned, Lion being left on the board was a one-time oversight. I think pretty much we've seen Lion pretty much been banned mostly universally, except for a few matches here or there, and then it gets played pretty consistently. I got to imagine G2's not going to let that happen again, which gives somewhat of a free ban to Millennium if they take advantage of that.
Yeah, I guess. Although if I'm G2, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to ban Lion. They're going to know I'm going to ban Lion. That's not a huge deal, though. I mean, again, if the only draw you have with also having no losses in Pro League is as a result of Lion being left in play, then I think it's safe to say that you can ban him and be just fine, even if people predict it. That was a really interesting match against Vitality earlier in the season, and it was apparent how much Lion was dictating the flow of the game for both teams.
I feel like they probably should have learned that lesson as well in Atlantic City, where that was a big factor, I think, in their eventual being toppled by Liquid. So it's definitely, it seems to be a big problem for them. And I've talked to Chaz about that before, and he says it's mostly just due to the way they want to play very, very fluid, and it just really, really puts a cramp in their style having Lion in play.
Well, speaking of style, community vote. We'll see which team is more popular in this one. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Millennium have a better shot than they're being given credit for, but nonetheless, I think it's still pretty likely that you are going to take this.
Yeah, when we're talking about the popularity of a team,
yeah,
in any region, I don't think you're going to have a fun time going up against G2 in that vote.
Well, the reason I would say Millennium I think are underrated is I mean, they were already good as a team, but Yogurts wasn't doing a ton in terms of fragging, and you replace it with someone like Aces. If the rest of the team cohesion could build around that, that's very strong to come back up from a team that has won at least a DreamHack.
Yeah, absolutely right. But we'll have to see when we actually get into the action, of course. It's all left out in the air. I mean, maybe something crazy like, for example, Lion could not get banned. That could happen, and then we could see how that changes the flow of the game. But on a map like Coastline, Lion's probably a surefire ban. We'll probably also see something along the lines of Glaz, Blackbeard, maybe,
Yeah, we see Ying banned quite a bit on this map as well.
Ying, yeah, because, I mean, you're defending Projector. You throw a Candela into Projector from Trophy Hall or Guitar Hall or whatever you want to call it. And this is basically just the defense turns docile. There's not a whole lot they can do about it.
It just has to do with bomb sites where there's just one square little room that you're going to get a lot of coverage with Candelas of, and the fact that they don't really defend Penthouse so much as they defend Theater.
Well, you can't, right?
Exactly.
It's hard to play inside of Penthouse.
I feel like Slash is still the only one that really tries it.
A Slash from which region?
Oh, sorry, Slash Hug. Sorry, we have Slash from Latin America as well.
I like to say hyphen Slash and then just Slash. But yeah, I think in the Latin American region, we did actually see an interpretation of Coastline, actually in the day prior, just yesterday. We saw Coastline played by Liquid and Immortals, T1 and Ninjas and Pajamas both. So on that play day, we actually saw in both matches an interesting interpretation where the defenders defending Penthouse would play inside of VIP and open the VIP to Penthouse wall, which is something we just don't see anywhere else, or we haven't yet really.
I feel like there was like a few NA challenger level teams that would do that.
Probably, and I'm sure there's a number of other teams that have that trick up their sleeves. But it didn't end up. Well, it's not mixed results. Basically, the time we saw it be successful was when 3 to 4 ACOGs, I'm not sure is the exact number, but 3 or 4 ACOGs were brought, and they just opened everything. They didn't just open VIP wall, they also opened the back of Projector, and they played aggressive angles on the attackers, and they just won their gunfights. And that's kind of reminiscent of pre-ACOG removal, Jaeger Bandit, way back in the day when it used to be the defenders would just take fights and try to, it was like a skill game where it's just, can you win your fight or do you lose your fight? And we've seen a huge transition from that mentality since the removal of those ACOGs, where taking fights as a defender is not always a good idea, and you generally want to be more tactical and think out and more utilize your utility a little bit more. But yeah, it was an interesting interpretation. It was cool to see again. Definitely different. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be seeing anything like that in this match, Millenium versus G2. I think it's going to come very much into the typical meta of Europe, which is a little bit more rigid. Less so for G2, but definitely more so for Millenium.
I think you brought up an interesting point as well. Now that we have Clash in play, a lot of the bans for defenders are coming down to Mira and Clash. What that's doing is that's leaving more ACOG operators on the board for defense, because before you tended to have Echo or Maestro get banned out. Now you have Echo and Maestro both in play, along with some of the other ACOG operators that you're going to see. You see Doc and Rook pulled out occasionally as well. So because of that, we are seeing a lot more ACOGs on defense. We'll see how these bans go down, though, as G2 can start first. So this is where we should see a Lion. If we don't, Millenium, in theory, could exploit that by not banning the Lion.
Well, if G2 doesn't ban Lion, then they're going to use Lion. But they're going to ban Lion. So, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion at this point. They've been doing this pretty regularly for a long time.
I like to pretend there's this chance, like the tension's there. But now it's not happening.
Now, it's important to remember that this is actually the best player in the world against the best player in the world.
Oh, well, that is going to be pretty hype.
Yeah, Livin versus Fabian right now.
This will decide it.
Super exciting. I mean, we've seen a couple of matches like this before where these teams have gone against each other. Well, this isn't a crazy revelation or anything like that. It's just a bit of banter.
Yeah. Well, we do have still Ying on the board, as the Glaz was the one to go. That means Blackbeard as well. I mentioned the Echo not getting banned as much, but the fact that he's banned here means either Clash or Mira will still be available.
I'm guessing Clash is going to stay in play and Mira's going
to I'm guessing so, yeah.
I mean...
No. Well, they're
going
to keep it really interesting here. Now, this is someone we do see a lot of runouts, particularly from the VIP balcony.
Yeah.
Coming out on this map with Valkyrie in play. It's a very common thing to see for some peaks, as well as there are even some peaks from the Aquarium balcony as well. So maybe it's just a case of being able to secure your approach to the building a lot safer.
I really like this this operator ban of Valkyrie. I think it's going to give you a lot more maneuverability options on the attack, and that's exactly what they're doing when G2 bans Lion. That's exactly what they want. They're angling for maneuverability. When they ban Valkyrie, it's the same exact thing. You don't have to worry about a Valkyrie camera hidden in any odd location that's going to catch you off guard. Now, because Clash is left unbanned, Giannis is going to 6-pick into that shield operator, and that means that their opponents, Millenium, are not going to be aware of Clash's existence until they drone them out.
Now, we also have a Maverick being played here, so that could potentially come into play as we have both the new operators. If it were Penthouse, I would say maybe a little more likely to get use out of the Maverick. There's still some uses of it down on this site, but it is a little bit riskier because, some of the important walls that you see them reinforcing there are ones you're going to be pretty exposed while trying to open those. You're exposed to maybe either the courtyard or the lobby or even the bars. It's not the safest place to be trying to open, but there are some possibilities. There are some other ways to do it. Of course, you can try if you can get into bathroom and get some more peaks in delivery, but that's not going to be really that impactful. So I don't know if Aces is going to be doing a lot with his utility, but they have plenty of other utility. They do have the smoke potentially from Ryze if they want to cover something he's doing up. But not going to be a big deal. Renchir, though, being allowed to play his Blackbeard, that we know he's so good at, is definitely going to be, I would imagine, fairly impactful, unless G2 are just very prepared to counter it.
And we talked about how Blackbeard is an operator, especially on this map that has a high possibility of being banned. Coastline is very favorable to the shielded operator.
Yeah, we've seen it even impactful on Kitchen, not just Penthouse as well. See him here being used to clear out a bit of hookah. So he can start pushing there, but he can't, unfortunately for him, see that Clash shield just sit around the corner.
No, just trying to apply some pressure while his teammates drone things out, gathering information. You see Livin using the LMGE. We actually saw yesterday a clutch from Sexy Cake in Liquid versus Immortals, where he was just pre-firing for days after he picked himself back up off the floor, and the LMGE proving its worth as a weapon. Ryze going to take out Giannis, though, so the shield's gone. That is not a great start for G2, and as Millenium gets a second kill thanks to Ryze's positioning inside of the minibar, And it's looking better and better for Millenium.
What's interesting is that Rise got the kill on the Clash without using his Firebolt. Because Capitao is, I would say, without doubt, #1 counter to Clash at this point, and still didn't have to use that. They just had a good flank, keep him distracted with that LMG you were talking about from Liven. So good start for them because now he still has 2 Firebolts in play to help potentially cut off rotations as needed.
Now, a great thing to note for Millenium is that they've been so efficient with their time that now they can just slow it down a little bit. They don't need to get ahead of themselves. They managed to get 2 kills in the span of 1 minute. So gauging their next moves wisely is probably the good call. And they're just going to be rotating all around that top floor, looking for opportunities and holes in the G2 defense.
I like the classic, use Blackbeard to help clear an initial area for your kind of point men to get in there, and then have him rotate around to actually attack the site, which is perfectly played. But Pengu also perfectly countering it. Good teamwork from the Jaeger, who might have gotten a little peek out there from the Sunrise window, it looked like, and Gogo with a quick flick around, saving his own skin. He is a little bit low on health, but now it's back to 3-3. As I say that, there goes Liven.
So you could see that G2 doing G2 things, and despite finding themselves at the disadvantage very early into the round, they will not let the round slip away. And now Millenium are the ones who are at the man disadvantage. A swift turnaround too. Only took about 30 seconds for those 3 kills to come out for G2. The Legion Trap's going to panic Hicks just a little bit as he pushes into the main lobby. You can see the pre-fire there from Fabian will do a little bit of damage, but not enough to get the kill. You can see Rise has 1 Firebolt after expending 1 just now, but look at that, so little time. As the flashes start going in, you'll see Fabian semi-blind, but he's got Gogo to support him. Gogo also gets a team kill onto Pengu, but Fabian's pre-fire will be enough to get the final kill, and G2 take the first round against all odds.
That was a little bit of a rough round for G2. They had some early kills they got against them, and then also a team kill there towards the end, but as usual, Fabian's still alive at the end. He tends to clutch it out, and that was a situation where he had more than enough possibility of doing so with the operator he was playing. The fact that they could not get him out of that corner was definitely a tough spot to be in for the attackers, as they were not able to get necessarily like a firebolt or anything onto him. They might not have even known he was there, but now that we're going back to Penthouse, we might see some more utility come out of Aces here. Eunice probably faking that Clash pick this time, as usually when you 6-pick into something and then pick it the next time, you're usually going to 6-pick out of it. But no, they are going to stick it, so he's just going to reveal it nonetheless.
At this point, the game's up. And the other team is going to know that they're dealing with Jonas on that shield operator. No reason to hide it. Didn't really work out great for G2 in the first round, but then again, it didn't matter in the end, as G2 managed to clutch it out, as G2 does.
Yeah, we'll see if Eunice can be a little more useful this time. It was due to his positioning and the fact that he didn't really have a teammate backing him up. And that's the thing is, while Clash was pretty good before in playing solo, now that the nerf has happened, Clash not so good at one-on-ones anymore. You really need that teamwork to be able to actually do anything, because you cannot just quick switch to the gun.
So G2 going with the typical strategy of reinforcing the VIP wall, and they'll be opening up holes just underneath it to deny thermite charges or Habana Excaros when they should come from Millenium. A very predictable strategy from G2, but also a predictable counter, and still works.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see though if they can clear as efficiently as they did last time. They're looking like they're going for a typical hookah clear again this time, but also working their way over to the balcony. This time they don't have the Blackbeard, which is kind of ironic in a way, because this is the site he is typically the best on. But at the same time, Renshiro is a very good Twitch, so I imagine we'll see some utility get out of that. Would potentially be useful to clear out the Mira windows had they brought Mira, which this time, again, surprisingly they did not. It is the reverse of what you would expect, because downstairs doesn't necessarily need it as much as this site does.
Rise looking for an angle. Last time he was able to do so much damage to the defense early on, but not so here. A minute transpired, and the customary 2 kills that Millenium have been able to get will not happen. They do have a good amount of control, though, over by the hookah and VIP. Cantor Ketty still inside of Billiards Aqua, and he could do a significant damage from this position, but he doesn't seem to be confronting any opponents immediately. Zofia Lifeline will push that shield away from the Clash's cover, but so many kills are happening here in the meantime. As Liven manages to get the finish off on Jonas, he was down from behind. leaving just Fabian and Cantor-Ketty in a 2 versus 4. Some pretty extreme action happened as Millenium started to push their way to the site, and those roamers who were playing just a little off-site from G2 were not able to stay alive.
Well, they have enough utility to be able to kind of delay this a little bit. They've got the Evil Eyes and the Legion Goo Mines, of course, that they can use to potentially even stall a plant out if they walk on those before going for that plant. But with 4 people left alive, this is going to be down to some heavy fragging out from these two.
Yeah, G2 right now is all clustered together. Of course, Cantor-Ketty and Fabian both stuck in that projector, that home theater. It's not a great position to get a clutch from, especially when your opponent surrounds you on all sides. And here, ooh, Ace is trying to bait out the torch there. He possibly could have actually just gotten a free kill, but he peeks into the doorway and gets the kill regardless. Going through his hole, he's going to try and find his second opponent, and he will. Ace is a great play there on Maverick. And we'll get the final 2 of G2. And now the round count will be 1-1.
Well done. Fortunately, we will have to kind of rehost the game real quick because of some, I believe, settings issues. But nonetheless, there was only 2 rounds in, so hopefully it won't take too long to get back to that. But so far, I gotta say, not terribly impressed with Eunice's Clash. I feel like compared to how he plays, for example, on Bandit, it is definitely not working against Millenium. And I would say that's down to Millenium's teamwork. They're doing the job of flanking him very well, which is typically what you're supposed to do against a shield.
Yeah, using their Zofia lifelines and their firebolts very efficiently. So props to Millenium for that. Jonas just a little too exposed. I think he needs to play more passively with that Clash if he wants to see success with it in the future. Maybe in a position where his teammates can support him.
This almost feels experimental, like they're trying to see what they can get away with against a team like Millenium.
Well, as we've touched on in the past, one of the main hallmarks of the G2 defense is that they tend to play with probes, right? With their defenders a little extended, but always able to find their way back to the site before they are executed. Well, with the Clash in play, those probes have not been able to make it back to the site yet in the 2 rounds we've seen transpire. G2 keeps losing players early on because of that play style. And I think it's maybe not Bandit specifically, but the 3-speed factor and the maneuverability that it offers to the roamers. And G2 not having that in all of their roamers means as soon as they lose one, they look for vengeance, and the rest of the roamers double up, and they end up losing the fights to the Millenium roam clear. That's the way it's looking like it's playing out right now. We didn't actually get to see the last round, really. We saw what happened with the Clash, but the rest of the roamers dying elsewhere, kind of off screen. But on the first round, that's pretty much it. It was the probes died before they could get back to site, and that seems like what's happening in all of these rounds.
Yeah, and I just was pointing at Junus's Bandit specifically because he's usually so good at being that probe, usually playing this very fluid roam game with the Iron Sights MP7 and doing a lot of damage as well as, you know, at least keeping them busy for a while. But all he's doing at this point is just keeping them busy without really doing any damage back. And I think that's costing them in terms of manpower here. I mean, Fabian and Kanto are doing a fine job on their role. We're not necessarily, as you mentioned, we didn't get to see what happened with a lot of the other players, but hopefully this is a case where they're going to play a little smarter. Eunice, though, all the way on the other side of the map, that slow speed, I think, is really hurting his ability to continue to help throughout the round.
You can see Millenium trying to open up that wall towards B so they can get a default plant inside of the site just by the couch. They did see an impact from Cantor-Ketty try to counter it, but I believe it only got a few pellets from the Excaros, so they should still be able to make their way through. Cantor-Ketty actually get an impact above himself, exposing himself to Liven now, but we've seen Kanto do some great work from this position before. Liven missing some super important shots there with the LMG, and his prey will get away. Rise, though, does get Goga. Rise has been doing some great work so far for Millenium, and with the smoke addition, he is also going to cover the push in and the potential plant. Though Liven does get downed by Pengu from the blue stairs. That was a win that should not have happened for the Pulse, but he makes it work, as Pengu often does. We'll finish off Liven as he pushes into Hookah. There is an attacker repelled onto Hookah window, so pressure is being applied to the Pulse now that he's relocated upstairs. But he's got a great position to deny the defuse plant on default of B. And it seems like the first smokes from Millenium were just a bait out. Now they're choosing to wait.
I like the play from Pengu taking control of Hookah because, like you said, that denies the defuse plant. As this will come down to the wire, because they've lost Fabian, they have less control of the site now. And so a lot of pressure is going to be coming onto Kanto. Still not sure what Eunice is up to. He's still kind of walking around, but it looks like he's actually on site, potentially doing some denial of the doorway.
Good information from that Evil Eye will call out aces, and Pengu will get the kill because of it. Rise, though, again, really showing his worth in this match as he gets another kill and then the final kill. So well done to Millenium, and Rise in particular. They take another round, putting themselves up 2-1.
Definitely playing very well there. Yeah, there was that lack of quick switch coming out from Clash, unfortunately for him, and great play by Rise taking advantage of that. And I think the early kill onto Fabian definitely hurt things a little bit just because they had a lot less firepower on the site to be able to hold Rise back. I mean, again, though, there was some good plays by Pengu there, going around upstairs, taking control and finishing off Liven, and then coming back down for the flank. But it just, again, wasn't enough. You're not seeing enough of these players get multiple kills to be able to really whittle down the manpower of Millenium. When it comes to the site push, it seems like they're pushing very confidently onto G2's defenses, managing to get the picks they need. And we're not always seeing all the droning they're doing, but I think they're doing a very good job communicating despite having to switch to English.
Seems that way. So, back to Kitchen, the only site that G2 has been successful on thus far. And the reason, of course, being their anchors so successful when it came down to the final site push. They were able to hold out in those last 30 seconds against the Millenium onslaught. And that is telling, I think, of the bomb site. That ties in with the actual identity of Kitchen, as it's pretty much considered the most defensible site on this map right now. Not that much more so than any other map or any other site, but enough to call it the most defensible site.
Yeah.
Just barely though. I mean, they're all the sites on Coastline are kind of even on the lower end of defensible.
Well, on the upside, we are used to G2 losing some early rounds as they trying to probe things out, as you mentioned earlier. But they did make the adjustment here. Now they have Eunice back on the Bandit. They're not going to try the Clash thing anymore. It didn't seem to be working, so they're making those adjustments. I have a feeling we'll probably see this round go over to G2 if they play it as well as they've been playing it previously, especially with the adjustments. And we may see a bit of a swing back, but there are only so many defensive rounds left, as there's just this one and the next one left for G2.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see Jonas no longer playing Clash. Does not seem like he has a good grasp on the operator just yet. Either that or it comes down to Millenium's excellent counterplay on that Clash. They have been bringing Capitao every round, specifically to counter the Clash and to allow for site cover. A versatile operator, often overlooked, and Pengu, speaking of under, is going to get the nice headshot onto Renshiro, who is trying to prone peek through the side entrance door. Rise still in play, though. He will cut off the rotation for Jonas, keeping him stuck in bar. He's also going to get Pengu. Excellent shot for him. He's just a little bit cautious of this push into the Sunrise bar. He knows he's got to deal with somebody, but he doesn't know who or where. Inside a main lobby, Fiving going to do a little bit of damage. 2 aces before retreating back into the site. Jonas with the pre-fire through the broken hole. Not going to land his shots. Rise will die to a single bullet from the Bandit MP7.
Sneaky little hole there from Maverick might be a big factor here. If they're able to push him into a position where aces can get the shot on him. Not that, unfortunately, pre-fires the wrong direction.
Oh no, the mark from his teammate causes a false pre-fire, and as a result, Rise's death. Now Millenium are confronted with a man disadvantage and positional disadvantage as well. You could see they have not been able to take away ground from G2. Again, thanks to Jonas' excellent play on this Bandit, as you were talking about earlier. Liven pushing into the bar now, using his lifeline to disrupt Jonas. He will just slowly peek around and get the kill, finally getting control of Sunrise Bar in Millenium's favor.
Well, this is definitely going much slower for Millenium than previously. They did even out the man count at 3-3, but they seem to have a lot less control than they had on the previous attacks. This is definitely working out much better. They have their 3 main site players left. Yeah, unfortunately, they lost Eunice, but he did a lot of work before dying. So they are in a good position given the fact that it's just 3 men left to try and pinch this out.
Looks like it's going to be delivery push from Millenium. They do have 1 player not with them here, and that's going to be a push from the Sunrise Bar. Liven gets another kill for himself, but Cantor Raketti will shut him down, and Fabian in a position to deny the defuse plant once it's called out. He gets the first kill onto Hicks and gets the second as well. A nice flick onto Aces. And not even an ADS necessary for the Maestro. G2 take another round, and it's even 2-2.
Well, this is looking like the start of maybe a little bit more of a comeback here from G2, who were, as we were talking about, struggling a little bit once they made the adjustments, so they seem to be doing just fine. I imagine we'll still see some back and forth, but I expect a little bit more dominant play from G2 now, although that was still down to a 3v3 towards the end, so it definitely wasn't in a situation where I would say they were dominant, but they seem to be finally slowing down Millenium, getting an idea how they're playing against it, especially like, for example, the Capital plays. They're able to kind of adjust to that. You saw the Firebolts come out and not succeed in getting it. Did push people a little bit, but never succeeded in pushing people into a kill directly. Hicks bringing out his infamous Fuse Shield. Should be fun to watch here, though, as they're going to go to Penthouse Eater. Now, this is one where I could see some potential utility out of pushing right through that the penthouse door on into the site and trying to take it.
Of course, last time Millenium went here, they were very successful. They shut down the roamers of G2 early on and left just Fabian and Cantor Raketti stuck inside of Projector or Home Theater. From there, it was an absolute slaughter in a 2 versus 4. No chance for G2. This time, however, yet again, G2 have rotated off of Clash, as Clash seemingly not working against the Millenium formula. And they will have Jonas back on that Bandit. So I think there's going to be a little bit more lethality from the defensive roam game.
They're still going to have to be cautious, of course, of that back wall on Theater in terms of, we saw Aces, for example, open a hole in it before. Didn't necessarily lead directly to a kill through the hole, but he absolutely got the intel he needed to make the kills on the hallway. And it worked out for him overall. I would expect, if he has the opportunity to do so again, he would, maybe in a slightly different position, just so they're not expecting it. Especially if they're in the middle of being distracted by Hicks as he's trying to push in. That is the perfect opportunity to pop a little hole and shoot them from behind, if they're willing to fall for that. Again, they're not bringing the mirror, though.
This strategy from Pengu would be great if it were not for the fact that there was, oh no, a huge mistake from Millenium, and they're going to open the drop down before they can use Hicks's fuse charges. That's potentially a waste there. They are going to clear out the ADSs, of course, but they could have gotten, in theory, a little bit more out of that if they had chosen to use the fuse charges first. Possible that Pengu was expecting that, though, and waiting for fuse charges. Maybe going for, wanting to go for a shot. And
certainly wouldn't hurt, though, if you have 3 of them and you don't need all 3.
Yeah, quite right. Unless Pengu shoots you through the drop down, as I was suggesting, it's possible that he was waiting for that. Anyway, after opening up the drop down above the bathroom, there will be now a slow push into VIP and Guitar Hallway, as is typical on this site.
Well, smokes are already coming out, though, a little bit early, which is just to try and get Hicks here. That's 2 smokes now. Goga, unfortunately, not doing a ton, and he's already taken some damage himself.
Yeah, definitely some wasted utility there from the smoke, and he's not going to be happy about that, not getting the kill on Hicks, as he could just hide away in the corner. The position well known to G2, and here come the lifelines who try and disrupt the rest of G2. Those 2 ADSs being used in the bathroom, really showing how much of utility was invested from the defenders. Liven will get the first kill onto Goga, so that last gas canister not going to see any use here in this round. Smoke's coming out from Millenium. They're going for a plant, and might just be a bait out initially. Hicks is going to eat a lot of damage to his hand there as he attempts to push, and he's being marked and called out to the rest of the defenders. Pengu in the power play position right now for G2. He's got to make some pretty amazing work happen here as he's holding both the doorway and the bathroom, but Renshiro will win that fight, and it gets harder and harder for the defense as time progresses. But speaking of time, there's so little left for Millenium, and they're going to have to start pushing right now. Here come the Capital bolts, the fire and smoke alike. Cantor Raketti has line of sight, though. So does Fabian as he sprays through the smoke. He's landing his shots thanks to the marks from his teammates on the Evil Eye. Liven will get 2 more. That's 3 for him in the round. But from behind, through the Maverick hole, Jonas gets a kill, and he's in a clutch position. Renshiro is down on the floor, and the last attacker is so lit. But oh no, he's been downed. But it's Sophia. He can pick himself up, and Jonas reads the room, gets the kill, and G2 take it.
What a clutch play at the moment there. Using Maverick's own hole against him. Well done. And that was just, I mean, that came down to timing for sure for Eunice, but that is why I was so disappointed to not see him on that Bandit. I mean, I'm sure there's other roles he could play, other ways he could play it, but that's the Eunice I was expecting to see that we were just not getting when he was playing on Clash.
Yeah, and I think G2 have definitely learned a little bit of a lesson here against Millenium today. It's Clash is great and all, but one of the trademarks of G2 is having that full 5-man squad that can fight back.
Yeah.
There was a lot of work put in by multiple players there. Cantor Ketty, Pengu, Fabian, and Jonas, even Goga. You know, he did manage to delay that push. As much as he used his gas canisters early, he still managed to delay the push. But overall, you know, I feel like if Jonas had been harmless again, then it probably would have been a Millenium round, especially considering how much work Liven was doing by himself.
Absolutely, and that was a great play by Hicks as well. I mean, maybe he didn't get a lot of damage done, but he was in a position to be able to keep their attention as well as get those smokes out to help the rest of his team. But of course, the Evil Eyes were very helpful in that as well. So good job on Fabian having those to be able to back themselves up so that they weren't exactly caught off guard by Hicks' smoke push. So overall, some good counter push, but it did surprise that it got down to a 1v2 in a situation where G2 still should have had some pretty good advantage, but you mentioned Liven just doing a great job. We are going to see Clash come out from Millenium as well as the sides switch here. Renshiro going to be the one to play, and we're actually seeing Kanto with his first Dokebi as well. So this is should be interesting round here, and then it's going to be on Kitchen, which, as we've talked about many times, is the better bomb site at the moment.
Yeah. And it will be where they start. We did see G2 start here as well, and they were successful in their first attempt.
Both attempts, really, which is says a lot about the site.
In all of the attempts.
All
of it's a really highly placed, or it's a really elevated mirror window. For some reason over by Sandwich. Kind of curious. But it will have good control over the double bar. And you can see that G2 aren't really that keen on attacking it. So it seemingly isn't going to matter too much in this round. Right now they're, I believe, putting a bit of a focus on, I want to say the top floor, but honestly I haven't seen very many of them. Yeah, here we go, the top floor. So they are pushing their way into the main stairs already. Aces is going to be having a little bit of a dance with Jonas.
Well, if Jonas can get him out here, that'll definitely be a good initial kill because we know how effective Aces is as a Slayer. And he's going to be on that roam that gets caught, but can't quite finish the job. And, oh, that was under the Clash.
Yeah, so that's the power of Clash, using the shield to gather information. And now Jonas not able to inflict the damage that he otherwise would have been able to. Another player in Pro League using the LMG of Zofia. Clearly the LMG-E is the superior weapon on this operator. I mean, you watch him, it basically has no recoil. It does a really decent chunk of damage, decent rate of fire, and so much ammunition. I think that's why we've been seeing Zofia played regularly with that weapon.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed to be working out fairly well for Millenium. We'll see how Pengu does on it, but yeah, with all the stability changes to the LMGs and the damage adjustments, things like that, I think LMGs are slightly back in vogue. We saw IQ running an LMG as well last night, so...
Yeah, we also saw Liquid versus Immortal Sexy Cake running the LMG on Zofia too. I mean, it's just a popular form of weapon now. Aces will get the first kill. Jonas goes down, so the dance goes to the Jaeger.
Well, he does take a bit of damage in the process. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to matter as Goga can't land enough shots to finish the job, and he's still alive. Still time for a reset if he really got back to sight in time, but probably will not. Will continue to hold that lobby against Kanto as long as he can.
Speaking of Kanto, just outside the Lamborghini doorway trying to fight onto the Clash, and it's basically an effort in futility. He doesn't have a teammate to establish Crossfire, but Pengu is trying to fill that role now. The third player from G2 to get onto the main stairs. Clash, though, caught in a Crossfire as Pengu takes out Aces, his support staff. Clash is basically exposed to the death at this point, and Cantor Ketty will be the one to get the kill. A flick from Fabian will make that defender at the end of the hallway shy away, but Rise will eventually get Cantor Ketty, who had been lit up prior in the round. Fabian finally pushing his way into the site. This has been a jumbled round so far. As Pengu takes out Hicks, the final defenders will be Rise and, well, I was going to say Liven, but no, the 1v1 comes into play. Luckily for Pengu, he will have time to get this defuse plant. Rise is too far from the site, but the information is abundant here, clearly for the Legion, and the pre-fire narrowly misses its mark through the wall. Pengu now in a perfect clutch position. Post-plant, and he knows where his opponent is coming through from, thanks to the virtue of sound. The pre-aim is perfect here for Pengu. He need only wait. But will the pre-fire from Liven land? No, it won't. Rather, Rise goes down. Pardon me. G2 take another round, and they put themselves up 4-2 thanks to an excellent clutch from Pengu.
Typical G2 fashion. Drop a couple rounds at the beginning, come back hard. Although these are definitely closer rounds than I'm sure G2 likes. It's definitely come down to the wire. A lot of 1v1s at the end for them in terms of taking these, but they still have to take 2 more to be able to take this map. But a 6-2 against Millenium is definitely pretty good, even for a team like G2, just because Millenium are a very formidable opponent as well. We've seen a lot of good work from quite a few of the players on the team, so it doesn't seem like anyone's really slouching today. It's just these clutch plays from G2 seeming to work out in their favor.
Yeah, it's important to remember that Millenium is one of the best teams in all of Europe, so you expect them to get some rounds here, if not actually manage to pull out a win. But they've been struggling so far in this match. They're going to be going to Penthouse instead of sticking it out on Kitchen. Curious. Usually, Kitchen is one of those sites that would be repeated until victory.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. It's a good one to play. I mean, unless you're trying to bait them into thinking you're going to play a different site, probably would have been better to stick it on there. But I suppose if they manage to win Penthouse, they can just go right back down to Kitchen, so there's that. They don't have to go to a third bomb site in that sense. But you could say the same for winning Kitchen and then having to go to Penthouse. So we'll see. Rise is going to be bringing out the Doc. We were talking about the ACOG play earlier. Echo is banned, so this is where we're going to get some extra ACOGs in addition to Hicks on the Maestro. Liven, for whatever reason, baited like he was going to play another ACOG of Rook, but went instead with Jaeger. Not sure if that was just a last-minute decision or if he was really trying to bait something, because I mean, you're not really going to, I don't think, force too much of a counterplay from G2 with that.
Millenium will be using the open strategy on the VIP wall and on the back of Projector. So this is what we were seeing in Latin America in just the day prior. The big difference, of course, is the fact that they did not make a rotation hole in the VIP wall, instead just making murder holes. One mirror window already lost for Millenium thanks to the excellent drone play of Fabian. And that is going to be a huge boon for G2 as they start their attack.
Yeah, especially with the Capitao, they're able to even get firebolts through that window now. Means that corner is way less secure for them to be able to play from, even if they were to just crouch down and try and hide there. So that wall itself is going to be fairly insecure now. In fact, there might even be an angle through that open VIP wall that he can use now to exploit that. So overall, Fabian's play there, just during the prep phase alone, may have really shifted this in G2's favor. Ooh, unfortunately, as I say that.
When Shiro, an excellent shot onto Jonas as he drops, attempting to cut off visual for his teammates, so a plant can happen. And the plant is happening. It's cost 2 players from G2, but the plant is going down. The cover from Pengu is perfect onto Renshiro, and Fabian also takes out Aces in a ready position. So now, post-plant scenario, G2 have a huge advantage, and all they need to do is wait. Good shot there from Fabian, seeing the angle onto Rise, who was playing over by the VIP. And it's looking worse and worse for Millenium. They're going to have to find all of these spread out G2 players, and they've wasted so much time already. Pengu going to be the first line of defense on the diffuser itself. You can see the backup will be Goga, who could at any time drop from the hatch. It seems like a stick here, but Goga's going to be able to drop from the hatch and get the double kill. G2 will take that round and put themselves on match point, 5-2.
Well, being honest here, it looks like we're probably going to see G2 take this. Whether Millenium get another round or 2 out of it, hard to say, but that was such a swift execution. I mean, that again fell apart because of Fabian getting the early open on the mirror window, offered them the opportunity to go for a much faster plant because there was going to be way less ability to stall out a plant. I mean, yeah, they had to sacrifice 2 people, but with such a swift and nearly flawless after that execution on the plant, totally worth the trade, I would say, because 3 people to cover that was easily enough.
If nothing else, G2 have affirmed their position as the only team in Europe and the Americas to have, in the regular season, to have no losses so far.
Yep.
And they will, at the very least, get a draw out of this, but the way things are looking, they have now 3 rounds to get a victory, and I think the expectation is for just that to happen.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to a bad site here, as there are no real bad sites, so they just are forced to bar. Well, I mean, what am I saying? They're not forced anywhere. They
can go anywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking the other way around. But yeah, they are choosing to go to bar in a situation after both their defenses lost. Again, I still think would have been better to go to Kitchen and try that again. But Millenium do have a good bar defense, so I can understand they have liked bar quite a bit in the past.
I think they're just trying to stay as unpredictable as possible,
yeah.
And that's probably the right call for Millenium. Against an opponent like G2, once G2 figures you out, you really need to start changing things, or it's just going to get worse and worse as time plays out. It's Millenium not letting the predictability factor come into play here, and they're going to go back to, well, not back to, they're going to go to double bar for the first time.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it earlier, but in this case, Millennium's first time on it. They are going to have a slightly different defense, but it looks they are going essentially for the corner mirror, something we were talking about last night, but slightly offset on one of the mirrors going into there. And that's a case where that will help prevent someone from sneaking in to blue bar, which is one thing that could definitely cost you, especially when you have a rotation hole between the two like they do. Kanto going to be running that CZ, of course, because the SMG-12 is a bit terrible at the moment.
Some players still choosing to use it, but you're right. I think it's pretty atrocious.
I mean, it's not unusable, but it's certainly unwieldy.
Yeah, it's not as good as it once was, that's for sure. Great surround play here from G2. Cantor Akedi already working his way over to main lobby kitchen area, and from here he can do a lot of flank damage as the rest of G2 is just going to be distracting from the blue bar over, you can see the south office. Now that will obviously be the primary focus for the Millenium defense. Already some bolts coming out from Jonas, and Free Fire as well through the broken mirror window. He will take out Renshiro. That was perfect angle play. Really props to him. And that's one C4 no longer available to Millenium. Wow, Cantor Akedi, what kind of timing is that? Liven goes down, and so does the defuse plant. Ace is able to get one kill for Millenium, but will it be enough is the question ringing in everybody's ears. As he's managed to position himself perfectly over by the south office, but Cantor Akedi, what a one-tap onto Aces. Goga takes out Hicks, and it's all up to Rise once more. As he drops from the hatch, he is given away by the phone call, and G2 take the round and the match 6-2.
Well, they definitely have not slowed down in their dominance of Europe. This is definitely looking pretty good. The 6-2 meme coming out.
6-2 G2, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, well. Man. That was 2 swift executes in a row in terms of getting that plant down. I have to say, they're when they see a hole in Millenium, they are absolutely just dogpiling on it.
Yep. So the, I guess the word of the day is dominance for G2. That was pretty absolute in their favor. 6-2 G2. And I think that's just, it almost seems like they lost those 2 rounds so they could say 6-2 G2. But
so they could test out Clash as well, I suppose.
Yeah. And against an opponent like Millenium, that's no joke.